There's urgency. There's unique qualities to both of these situations. Dante Moore at Oregon and Tai Simpson at Alabama. The first thing that everyone has to realize is next year's class is sensational. And we said this year's class had a chance to be, and it turned out where it's not. Right now, when you look at the landscape, okay? And next year's class, we just talked about Arch, Sellers, Maava, Sam Levitt, right? All those guys.
Lagway will be
Aiden Childs.
Potential.
Lagway, if he gets with the right place and is developed properly. That's not to mention even Julian Sayin.
Right.
And there's a handful of others as well that are all going to be, if not first round, first couple rounds, It's shaping up to be potentially one of the greatest quarterback classes in the history of the NFL draft, certainly in my tenure here. And we just had a record-breaking draft class with 6 drafted in the top 12, including Caleb Williams, who's come on strong, Jaden Daniels, who's taken a step back with injuries, but Drake May, who continues to ascend to almost MVP level. And then beyond that, J.J. McCarthy, let's see how that plays out. Michael Penix with the injury this year. And Bo Nix is, by the way, quarterbacking, whether you love him or you don't, a team that is number 1 seed in the AFC with 2 losses, okay? But here's the landscape, just so people understand. Next year, you've got all those quarterbacks you're competing against. This year, you have, if the draft was held today, the New York Giants are picking at 1. And boy, do you want to have the number 1 overall pick this year. If you'd love to, if you need a quarterback.
Right.
Honestly, this is a rare year where I would say you'd actually want it more if you're a team that doesn't need a quarterback. The Giants would be picking at 1 right now, and I want you to hear me loud and clear when I say this. If the Giants were to finish, and the percentages aren't good, or if Tennessee were to finish with the number 1 overall pick, anyone but the Raiders, who desperately need a quarterback now that the Geno Smith thing did not work out and they're going to gut that whole thing. Think about what you could have from a team. And if it's just Fernando Mendoza in the first round, you've got the Raiders sitting at 2, Cleveland sitting at 4. That's if the draft was held today. The Jets sitting at 5. And then the Rams with that Atlanta traded pick sitting at 10. That's 4 in the top 10, which is actually less than normal. But 3 of those 4, Steve, have multiple first-round picks. And as we're doing this show, Mekhi Lemon just officially declared for the NFL draft. Welcome to the show. That was to be expected. But follow me here. 3 of those 4, Cleveland, the Jets, and the Rams, have multiple first-round picks.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I think the Rams are more likely to try to maneuver, get out of that 10th pick if anyone wants to move up and try to get a pick for 2027, because Matthew Stafford's, I don't want to call it a renaissance, but like Matthew Stafford's ability to play at an MVP level right now says to me, Les Snead, as the general manager, oh, we can push this back a year if it works out. But one of those teams will be willing. And yeah, the Jets have multiple first rounders next year, but if they love Mendoza and there's not another quarterback in the mix in the first round, which we could be staring at, I would say it's around 50-50 chance. Someone's going to pay a ransom to get that number 1 pick, right?
Uh-huh.
Okay. So yes. So that's a backdrop to keep in mind. The other part, if you're Dante Moore and Tai Simpson specifically, Moore's season went like this, rocket ship. Then lulled in the middle, and then has taken back off. Simpson was rocket ship, including 4 straight wins in the SEC or against ranked opponents. And then all of a sudden, no run game. Where's Ryan Williams, my star receiver? What's going on? And I'm starting to press. And I've been sacked 26 times or something like that. I'm holding on the ball too long. I'm feeling the pressure. I'm ball security inside the pocket, 5 straight games with fumbles. So it has been like chipped away at. But now here we are as the first round of the college football playoff begins. And I'm talking to people. And those people are saying, hey, Todd, they legitimately haven't made decisions because, yes, they'll say all the right things. They're focused on what's happening. But just like Drew Aller a year ago, and unfortunately for Aller, he probably made the wrong decision and should have just left for the NFL draft. And maybe he's a second-round pick a year ago, which would have been, no offense, a big mistake. But there were enough people in the scouting community, including one of the lists in the preseason that are contracted out by NFL teams, where they had a first-round grade on him. But we talked about it prior to the college football playoff last year. Hey, what if Aller plays great?
Right. It goes on this run.
What if he makes a run? And what if he's like dealing? Could he? And then, yeah, they won a game, but he didn't. It wasn't anything where, and he winds up coming back to school, and all the other players came back, and the season didn't go the way they wanted. So when you're Moore and you're Simpson, you kind of keep that in mind. But then it's hey, let's see how this thing goes. Because if I put 2 or 3 tapes out there that are awesome, and I'm playing my best ball at the end here, and now I've got, instead of for Simpson, he has 13 starts. What if he winds up with 16 now? And his last 3 were great, and they get Jam Morris back, and they get a run game to balance things out, and Ryan Williams shows back up.
Jam Miller. We cannot get his name right, but go ahead.
I knew, as I said,
I didn't want to break up your momentum, but I had to.
Bam Morris, Bam Miller,
Jam Morris, yeah,
Jam Miller, unbelievable.
He's a dude, by the way. I love the way he runs. Like it's just.
But it's Maui Noah. But it's Maui Noah, the offensive tackle from Miami.
That's right.
So
that's right.
Fool me 9 times, you won't get me a 10th. All right, but my point is, in talking to people who have information on this, neither one has made a decision. There's some leaning, according to what I'm hearing, okay? Let's go to Moore specifically. This was a non-issue, an absolute non-issue. And I want to remind people that Dante Moore is 20 years old. I believe he turns 21 later this month in December. We can look that up. But he's 20 years old at the moment. He's just a pup. He's started, 12 games this year. They didn't play in the championship. So 12 games plus the 5. He has 17 starts. He's mature, truly, beyond his years. He turns 21 in May. Yeah, that's right. It was right after the draft. That's what it was. So he turns 21 in May. When he's drafted, he'll be 20 years old if he leaves early. You can go back and you can play another 13, 14, 15 next year, and now you're in that 30 range where all the top quarterbacks, almost all the top quarterbacks, we talked about only like 2 or 3 quarterbacks that you would consider in the top 15 in the NFL had fewer than 30, 33 starts or something like that. But even those guys had like 26, 23, 26. So history has shown us the failure rate for guys who have 17 starts, somewhere in that range, under fewer than 20 starts, is significant enough to make a mature young man who is getting paid Phil Knight money to say, you know what? Yes, I'll lose out on getting 1 year closer to the second contract where guys are making 40 whatever million a year at the quarterback position. But what if I don't get to that second contract in the NFL as a good starting quarterback in the league? What if I Trubisky it?
Yeah.
What if, you know what I mean? And what if because I wasn't ready by the time that second contract comes up, I'm no more than a backup? We've got Mark Sanchez, we've got Trubisky, we've got Anthony Richardson.
Yes.
All of them under 20 starts. Didn't sustain it, So he's got good people, from what I'm told, in his corner, and he's a mature young man. I keep getting told this, like he's not rushed. He is not in a rush. But then his offensive coordinator leaves, Will Stein, who has been key in his development. Okay, and so I did some digging on this. He has a very close relationship with Stein. It's understanding. There's understanding why he left. Happy for him. No ill will. will miss him terribly. There's been some reports of maybe he goes to Kentucky with him. No, it's not happening. And it's not about money. It's not about fear of playing in the SEC, as some SEC folks would like to think. It's about, why am I going to go take a risk in the SEC with a program that does not yet, maybe it will, but it can't keep up talent-wise with everybody else in that conference, just about everybody else in that conference, especially now that Vanderbilt's starting to roll. And then the new offensive coordinator who was hired within, who was a co-offensive coordinator promoted when Will Stein departed. And now he's the guy. He's the in-house promotion. It's Drew Meringer. There's familiarity, the continuity. From what I hear, a nod from Dante Moore that works. Don't want a lot of change if I'm coming back. So all these factors are in play. And meanwhile, Oregon's getting ready to play JMU and then try to advance in the college football playoff. But a decision has not been made. Tai Simpson, look up the five-star recruit. I broke down his name and I only have Russell, but find out what his name is, please, for me, for Alabama. Tai Simpson, compare this to Moore, who also has not made a decision. Here's what Tai Simpson's up against. Fewer starts than Dante Moore. Didn't finish the season strong. Keelan Russell, thank you. Didn't finish the season strong, okay? Head coach, where there just seems to be too much buzz and speculation in Michigan. And
I'm glad you're getting to it, man.
Okay?
Yeah, there's a lot of smoke. There's a lot of smoke right now with that program.
They're in the college football playoff, and there's still smoke. Coming off that game in the SEC championship, coming off of a 4 or 5 game stretch where you could see the decline and the wear on Tai Simpson. People remember I talked to you about Brian Kelly, and I said I have close relationships at places, and I'm not coming and reporting anything, but there's an underswell of some stuff going on where if we hit a tipping point, that it could be like that. Then there's also the fact that is DeBoer as happy as he thought he might be being the head coach at Alabama? So now you're Tai Simpson. And Tai, who's not 20 years old, Tai is 23 years old. He's the one who turns 23 next month, later this month, I think it is. He'll be 24. Now that quarterbacks nowadays, they play forever, right? I mean, look at Grandpa Rivers, right?
Unbelievable story.
Yes. But my point is, it's not like you're a running back or a corner or a wide receiver is going to lose your legs. Like quarterbacks can play a longer time. So it's not like, oh, he's 23. That means he'll be 24 when he's in the draft in 2027. That doesn't factor in hugely. But I'm giving you the information I'm getting. It's something that's being thought about. But more so, it's the stability or lack thereof, what's going on at Alabama. If I do come back, is it going to be is it the same coaching staff? And if it is, or if it isn't, is there a chance that this Russell, Keelan Russell? Yep. Winds up being the guy that everyone wants, even if I'm the starter, if the second I make. So like that, and I'm not saying he's saying that, but there's an element of, what am I even coming back to? There's an element of, do I just transfer if I decide not to go? Which is wild.
It's
Heisman front runner just 6 weeks ago. These are the things that I'm hearing.
This new college football
fucking crazy world that we're in right now.
It's creating very interesting dynamics of, like, these relationship dynamics are fascinating to me because look at Lanning. You're getting ready to make a playoff run. You're getting ready for the portal. You're getting all this stuff is going on. And then your coordinator's leaving, both your coordinators leaving. So you're dealing with multiple players, by the way. Dante Moore is obviously the most important, I would say. But there's other players who, their coordinator's leaving and they're looking at maybe leaving. All this stuff is going on. And you got to manage all that. You got to go to Dante Moore and say, we have a plan. This is why you should be here. This is why you should stay. This is why you can continue to develop here. I mean, it's, again, to go back to the conversation that we had with Jake Rosenberg from the athlete group, it is a different world. You need help here. As a head coach, you need help here. And I keep thinking about that conversation because it keeps popping up. And it's, when you start to think about what a head coach has to do, if you're a championship contender, with dealing with coordinators leaving, dealing with players deciding between the draft, or dealing with the portal, these guys have to make decisions before I even think that, it's crazy. It's just a different world now.
Here's what I know with both of these guys. They're both super talented. They both can play in the NFL. I've been asked what my opinion is by some people that might be around these situations, if I'm being honest. Both of them, my advice, go back to school, wherever that is. Go back to school for another year. Because at the end of the day, there's trends, there's analysis, there's experience in this profession. And I promise you, Dante and Tai, I promise you, while you can leave now and can go on and have an unbelievably successful career, the odds of you having that unbelievably successful career that you want to have in the NFL and you'll strive and you'll work your ass off for every single day increases if you go back to school next year. I promise you.
I 100% agree. I don't even think it's an opinion. I think it's the data. It's not. The proof is in the pudding. I will say this, and I'll just come out and say it. I like both of these quarterbacks. I think you're right. Both can be successful at the NFL. Dante Moore has a much better chance if he comes out this year than if Tai Simpson comes out this year. He's got some things that he's got to go back. Dante Moore has some more tools. He's a more attractive candidate for a quarterback.
I don't disagree, and I love Tai Simpson.
I do too.
Love Tai Simpson.
But I'm looking at that situation, and I'm looking at all that smoke, and I'm like, I could see how this could lead to someone making a bad decision. I hope that's not the case. Even if it does mean transferring. Even if it does.
That's my point in all this. Because of DeBoer and Alabama and this 5-star and things are unsettled in Tuscaloosa, and because of Will Stein and leaving to Kentucky, and I'm only 20, but I'm playing, and then because of the most important factor in all of this, don't forget, is what I started off with. There's 4 teams in the top 10, 3 of which have multiple first-round picks, that are desperately looking for their future quarterback. Mm-hmm. And there's currently 1. And he's not even officially declared, but he will be after this college football playoff, whenever that is for Indiana, in Fernando Mendoza, who is a clear-cut, no questions about it, first-round pick. Supply, demand.
Agree.
And the supply in a year we thought was going to be really good turns out kind of sucks. And so now if I'm Tai, and I know deep down in my heart I'm a coach's kid, I'm smart, I get all this information. I've studied this my whole life. I worked to be, but also was destined to put myself in a situation like this. I know what the right information is. I know that if I go back to school for another year and keep getting better, I get a better chance of succeeding in the NFL. But if I come back to school, is it at Alabama? If it is it tumultuous? Who's the head coach? Am I fighting off this 5-star? Every time I throw a pick, is everyone screaming Russell in the stadium? Put in Russell? And I don't even think that's factoring in, but it's like, what's more stable for me? And then if I do come back and try to play, am I better off playing somewhere else? And then for Moore, it's, again, very mature beyond 20 years old. And I keep getting told that. Like, don't, just because one's 23 turning 24 and one's 20 turning 21, don't get it twisted. These guys are both super mature, smart young men who have all this information, Todd. They know what the right decision is. But there ain't no way the Raiders, the Browns, the Jets, and the Rams in the top 10 picks. We're done with those. We get to pick 11, and you and I are sitting there in the LA studios ranting and raving about who's on the board at number 11. And if whether it's Moore or Simpson, if they're on, that they would be still on the board if they're in that draft class, in this upcoming draft class.
I agree.
It's fascinating. And by the way, as we prepare for the college football playoff starting on Friday with Alabama and Oklahoma, with Tai Simpson as the starting quarterback of Alabama going up against John Mateer for Oklahoma, there's a lot on the line, man.
Yeah. It's the high stakes football, man. Especially
there's a lot on the line.
Again, it's a draft show, but I mean,
there's a lot on the line for Alabama, and we're going to transition now.
Yes, for the program.
For the pro, like DeBoer wins at Norman. They go on even a couple game run. It's like, oh, everything's good here. Come on back, Ty. Let's go. They go out and they play like they played against Georgia in the SEC championship game. I'm telling you, it's not going to be pretty. And it's not going to be some soft landing spot where, you're on to next year. And that's going to add to the drama. And by the way, then we're like the 20th of December. And the declaration date's on the 14th. And it's like, I don't know. I can't remember. It's just different. It's just different.